Hey everyone, it's Norm here from IMCARS, and today I've got a special guest, my dad, David, with his over 50 years of automotive experience. And today we've got kind of an interesting list for you guys, and this is some of the do's and don'ts of dealing with an automotive dealership. And interesting enough, this list was written by you, 28 years ago?
Between 20 and 25 years ago, I would say.
So, and when we were rereading through it, the interesting things is most of this list is still actually very relevant today. But there is a few things that we're actually not going to mention because over those last 20 some years, times have changed and some of the stuff has actually sort of just become irrelevant or just with times changing, it's no longer something that is concerning being a consumer. So the first thing on your list is don't deal with a friend. And pass your comments on that.
Obviously in selling any product, and definitely if it comes to a car, in some cases a house, the salespeople do have networks and they do rely on their friends to buy from them. But if you're the actual buyer of a product and you are relying on a friend to sell you that product, not to help you buy it, but to sell you the product because he is going to make a commission, he is going to be very biased. Yes, he will probably steer you away from some things, help you with other things. But the bottom line is, if you, at the end of the day, decide that you don't want to buy a Ford, let's say he's a Ford salesman, now you're going to feel obligated to maybe deal with your friend, and it's not what you want, and you're going to be sad for the next 4 or 5 years because you wanted to buy a GM. The other thing is, friends sometimes are more costly to deal with than not your friend because you're relying on him to give you the actual best, and he's looking after you. Well, they're not. They're looking after his 25%. So that's my suggestion to you is don't buy from a friend if he's in the sales business selling you the vehicle. I'm not telling you not to have a friend help you buy a car.
And I'll just touch on that by giving you some personal experience being on the selling side of things. Over the many years, I've had people come to me and say, do I get a better deal because I know you? And I straight up tell them, no, you will pay more dealing with me. I don't hide it. You will pay more dealing with me if you are my friend than somebody who's not my friend. So that's right from me. Going into number 2. Ask to deal with a manager. Want to touch on that?
Well, it's not that easy to walk into an establishment and say, I only want to deal with the manager. But what happens is, particularly in a larger type of sales operation, and particularly the new cars dealerships, which are structured by the salesman talks to you, he sits you in an office, he writes up a deal, and he will always say to you, well, I have to now, if you sign here, Mr. Smith, and then I'll take it to the manager and see if he approves it. And then he comes back and says, no, he didn't approve it, and we want this, and then he goes back to the manager again. This takes an awful lot of time. Why not deal with the manager from the get-go? Because all we're doing is spinning wheels, and quite honestly, if you're dealing with the manager from the get-go, the manager will deal with you if he is the only contact you've had with that business and you haven't had a salesman that you're dumping along the way. And I'm not saying that you're going to get a better deal. What I'm saying is it will be quicker for you, it will be smoother, and at the end of the day, you'll probably be a happier buyer.
And I think that where that becomes more important is if you are, an informed buyer that's actually ready to pull the trigger and make the decision, then yes, there is benefit in going right to the manager, cutting out all the back and forth negotiation or test driving or this or that or the other. If you're just going into a dealership to kick tires and waste time and this, that, yeah, don't waste the manager's time. But if you're actually ready to buy, pull the trigger, you could probably save everybody some time. And also the manager's probably going to be more willing to deal with you in that scenario as well. So we are in agreement on that. My next, or your next, do and don't is don't tell the dealer that you want to trade.
Well, a lot of people that only buy a car every 4, 5, 10 years, and they want to just rid themselves of the vehicle they're driving by trading it in. A lot of people get mesmerized with the fact, oh, well, this dealer offered me $5,000 for my trade. The next one only offered me $3,000 for the trade. And you say, well, okay, well, I'm going to go to the dealer that offered me the $5,000. But you haven't really negotiated what is the best price or the lowest price on the vehicle that you're buying, as comparing apples to apples, that is. So if you start off with choose the car you want to buy, that is what you want to buy. Now, what can I buy that car for? Now you've established a baseline of what the top number is. Now you can go and get what's called an ACV, an actual cash value for the trade-in. Now you'll know, because if you put everybody on the same page as far as their lowest price they're willing to sell their new Honda for or whatever it is, so you know what that is. Now you want to get an ACV on your trade. But if you start off with a trade, they'll always be guarded. The dealer will be guarded because he knows that you want $8,000 for your trade. And sometimes customers will say to the salesperson, yeah, you know, Jimmy's car lot down the street offered me $7,000 and I want $7,500. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you came in dealing with me under that scenario and I knew you wanted $7,500, I'd probably give you the $7,500. But we haven't talked about the price on the other car yet. So just don't mention the trade at the beginning. Throw that in at the very end when you've made a decision to buy the car and you've got your lowest price.
So all very valid points, but I do want to actually not disagree with you, but say that there is a lot of benefit to trading in your car as well that may work in your favor. So basically we do agree, negotiate the best price on your car that you're purchasing first. But in terms of actually trading in something, you're going to get the tax credit on it. So that is a benefit to you, particularly the more expensive the vehicle, the higher the tax credit. And there is certain scenarios where maybe because of what you're actually trading in, the dealer will actually become more aggressive. Like, you know, we could be taking something in trade that we really want. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Every dealer is different, but there is times where, you know, maybe we'll sell you the car cheaper, give you more for the trade. It all depends. So there is, you know, certain scenarios like that where you may have a cherry trade that the dealer really wants. But that should go into our next topic of do and don't, which is compare apples to apples on what you're buying.
Correct. And I just go back to what Norman's last comment was on the other point about the dealer wanting that trade. Norman is very, very right, because if there's a potential of making $3,000 or $4,000, hey, you know, you do become a little bit more aggressive on the trade. Anyway, going back to apples to apples.
Compare apples to apples, because basically that's where the previous point led into, is like, shop everything comparably.
You have to compare apples to apples. Don't be misled by the fact that you walked into a Ford store and there is a Ford Escape, and you go into the next Ford store and there's a Ford Escape. But these manufacturers, and I think they probably do this on purpose, they have a laundry list of accessories, or not so much accessories, those are added on afterwards, but options that come from the factory, and you don't even notice them. Right from a heavy-duty battery, block heater, And let me tell you, these are things that you could forget. And a block heater would cost you $300 to put in after the fact if you all of a sudden decide you want one and it's not on the car. Roof racks, different types of roof racks, rear wheel mounted.
The trim packages are endless. You could have 8 trim packages on one model of car as well.
You really need the spec list if you're dealing on a new car, even a used car that's fairly new. You can get a spec list just by punching the serial number in online. It'll give you the actual spec list on that car, and you can go to the next dealer and just do the same thing. So you've got to compare apples to apples. There could be a significant difference in the starting price, MSRP. Could be $10,000.
Well, just to go further on that, some of these high-end exotic cars of today, you could actually have differences in MSRP of hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like some of these Ferraris where they've got, you know, Ferrari puts the build sheet in every car now, and some of them have, you know, 6 options and others have 60 options.
Yeah.
That car is going to be $200,000 to $300,000 more than one with a base option car. So it is important to compare apples to apples on whatever you're buying. Our next tip is don't tell the dealer that you need financing. You want to touch on that?
I won't start your conversation off with, oh yes, what you know, I need financing. You know, can you finance locally, or can you finance me without me going to the bank, etc., etc. Don't tell them you need financing, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the vehicle that you're buying. You get what you want, and knowing where your starting price is. If you start off, which many people do, they start off with, oh, you do financing. Now, by the way, if somebody said to me, oh, do you do in-house financing? That tells me that they're not bank financeable, by the way. It's a good signal. Now you're looking at high interest rates. But nevertheless, as a buyer, don't tell the dealer you're looking for finance, because as soon as you say, oh yes, well, what would the payments be on that? They will structure the deal based on the payment. And if it's just a matter of the payment call, and you say to the, well, I can only afford $400 bi-weekly, you're going to get $401 bi-weekly, guaranteed. That'll be the payment. You will get taken to the cleaners, guaranteed, if you're going to deal on payments. So I'd stay away from the finance end of things until you get your price established of what am I paying for this unit, and then you go to, okay, I need financing. What are my options?
Very valid point. Definitely do not negotiate on a payment. It's going to end up more so in the dealer's favor than yours if you negotiate on a payment, as opposed to, you know, price, trade value. You've got to look at the overall package, really. But that is definitely a very valid point of what not to do when dealing with a car dealership. Our next do is take your trade clean.
Well, it's absolutely. I mean, if you take a car or a truck or whatever you're trading is to the dealership, and you say, okay, well, I'm interested in whatever you've got here, and how, you know, can you tell me how much I'm going to get for my existing vehicle? When the dealer goes out to it, if it's filthy, and he opens up the door and it's full of diapers and chicken wings under the front seat and you name it, it's filthy. He's just going to say, this is a pig pen. The mechanicals of this vehicle is going to be less than cared for. So mentally, you've lost $1,000. Just on that, if not more.
Now, just touching on that, 25 years ago, you wrote
$200.
$200, but I think today it's definitely closer to 1,000, if not more.
Yeah. So if you take a nice clean car, don't get it detailed for the dealer, because he's going to re-detail it anyway if you trade it in. Just get it clean. Just take it clean, so he's not guessing what's underneath the dirt on the outside, because it could be full of scratches and chips and whatever else. You might as well be upfront right at the beginning and let the guy see what he really has. As far as the inside is concerned, hey, I would get your vacuum cleaner out at home and vacuum it out. Make sure there is no chicken bones under the front seats, and everything is tidy. And I could let you into a trade secret, which you might want to cut out of this video afterwards. But
No, leave it in.
don't stuff your all your personal information into the glove box, because there are dealers, not me, but there are dealers that will go into that glove box and they will find out what you paid for that car because the bill of sale was in there. They'll find out what the car proof says because it's in there. They'll find
Service work orders, like
Everything's in it.
you just took it to a shop and they called it for $10,000 worth of work.
It'll be in there.
Anything like that.
And I know dealers go through those glove box as soon as they go out on an appraisal. They will pull it out and they'll go through that stuff, and it won't add value to the vehicle. It will detract from value, guaranteed. So when you go to a dealer, go with a nice detailed car that you've detailed it, cleaned it up, empty the glove box, and there you go.
So our next tip is sort of the exact opposite of that, which is don't do repairs to your trade.
I don't think that's that you're not going to get any extra value by going into the dealer and said, I've just had a $4,000 service up at the dealer, and expecting to get that $4,000 back, because you're not going to get 4 pennies. Bottom line, the dealer is expecting that if he takes a trade, he's going to run it through his shop and do the whole thing again. So if you think you're going to take your vehicle into a shop and do the 120,000 kilometer service, time in belts and all that kind of stuff, you're just giving that dealer money that you're not going to get back. And you're probably not going to get any less for your trade by telling the dealer, if he asks, when was the last time you had the timing belt changed? Well, I haven't. It's due any time now. He isn't going to hit the car for that. So that's the reason why I wouldn't really spend any money on it, with the exception of maybe a windshield, if it is bad.
So I think all very valid points. Dealers generally are factoring that reconditioning in. If you're bringing in just, your run-of-the-mill car, they're going to, like I said, if customer says, oh, I just did this, that, the other, dealer probably doesn't care because he thinks you're lying anyways, or something along those lines. Now, I would preface this by saying on the more higher end vehicles, that may not hold true. If you're trading in a late model Ferrari and you just did your whatever $4,000 service, which will be cheap on that car, you probably will get that in return on the trade value. But on your just run-of-the-mill whatever, I would definitely agree. There's no point in doing any of that servicing. For dealers, it's so cheap as well to do brakes, to do any of that. It costs nothing these days. So yeah, very valid. Important tip here for consumers: don't look over a used vehicle if it's raining.
Well, if you go out and you want to go shopping for a car and outside on the outside lots and it's raining, well, you're not going to see the true value of a paint job on a car, because even the most faded red or black vehicle will look nice and shiny as if it's got new paint if it's been raining on.
Yeah, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see dents, scratches, hail damage, faded paint, anything in the rain, snow, anything like that. So what would you suggest that somebody does if it was raining outside and they wanted to look at a car?
I would just tell the dealer that, I like the car and I'm going to come back when you've got it rinsed off and it's inside and it's dry.
Yeah. Very valid tip. Next tip is do not be in a hurry or be hurried.
Yeah, if you're in a hurry, or the dealer's making you be in a hurry, and you've probably heard many times a salesman will say, well, I've got somebody coming in half an hour to buy that car. Do you know what? I mean, personally, You're in a better position if you say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll sit over there until the other person comes in, and let's see if he buys it. If he doesn't, then I don't have to worry about it. And when the other customer doesn't show, now it puts you in a stronger position. I would never be in a hurry. It's like going grocery shopping when you're absolutely starving. You're going to buy more stuff, probably. But yeah, don't be hurried. Don't be hurried. You'll be in a hurry to make a mistake if you hurry yourself or let a salesperson hurry you based on whatever his reasoning is. And
Now, we have had two people come at the same time to buy a car before, though.
absolutely, works great.
Yeah, works great if you're the dealer.
Yeah.
Right. This next one is sort of on the same tip of before, which is don't sign until you're sure, which obviously falls sort of along the same thing. I guess it's more so don't sign until you're more sure about everything, trade value, financing, your wife is going to let you, whatever excuse in the book it is.
Yeah. Don't let, yeah, I do. You know, sometimes the salesman said, well, let's sign up a deal, get a small deposit, and we'll hold the car for you. Well, what's the point? And the bottom line is, if you sign that document, I don't care that the salesman says, it's not binding, we're just going to hold the car for you. It's a binding contract. And I would advise you, do not sign unless you wish to, buy the vehicle. In other words, you enter into a contract once you put your signature on a document. And I know I know when we've been running our dealerships that particularly in the latter years, and customers would say, well, I'll give you a deposit to hold it. We have more than likely to say, sorry, sir, we're not going to do that because that's not fair on somebody that may come in that doesn't want us to hold it. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you want to come back in 2 days' time after you've thought about it, that's fine. But no, we're not taking you a deposit that we have to return to you if you change your mind, because that's not fair. It's not fair on a possible other buyer. So remember this, you're signing a contract, you've signed a contract, not holding it. There's no hold contracts.
Very good point. That should lead into these next two, which are sort of along the same, they sort of touch on that, but they are new. Don't accept verbal promises and don't sign any blank documents.
Well, signing the blank documents is foolhardy, because if it's a blank document and when you leave, the salesperson or whoever has control of that document at that point can actually write the terms in that they wish. And maybe they forgot what the deal was and they legitimately forgot. But so they write something down. Well, then that is what goes with that contract. Yeah. So don't send anything blank. And what was the other thing?
Don't accept verbal promises.
Yeah, I mean, on our latest bills of sale that we had, there was a statement that we always got customers to read and put initials to, is that it said, do not accept.
No, it said all verbal promises are in writing.
Yeah, and that's the way we did it. I know, and it happened many, many, many times to us where a customer would call us, usually after the salesman is no longer working for us. 6 months later, the customer would say, I never got those floor mats. What floor mats, sir?
Or whatever. Floor mats is just an analogy.
And well, I use floor mats because it happened to us on a GTR a couple of years ago. And the salesman was no longer working for us. And true, the salesman probably promised him floor mats. Salesman's no longer working there. It was all verbal. We did actually send the gentleman a brand new set of floor mats. I think the guy who lived in Regina or somewhere, and all happy. But yeah, don't accept verbal. Put it down on a document somewhere that this deal includes whatever it is that you've agreed on.
Very important part. And that can go either way. That could be the dealer, you telling the dealer something about your car, or the dealer telling you something about their car. So could be verbal promises either way. I think our final one here, and this one has actually changed over the 28 years that you wrote this. So it said, if buying a used vehicle, ask for the previous owner's name and information. Now, where that has sort of changed is now into the age of Carfax and due diligence and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can't really ask for the previous owner's name because that is proprietary information, and also would affect disclosure of the previous owner's information. You can't do that. However, as Norman says, now we've got Carfax, CarProofs, and usually, even though sometimes the information is erroneous, I will tell you, but there you have a document that is presented by somebody else who says, yeah, there's no liens on this vehicle, and this is the history as we know it of service. There has been an accident or there's been no accident. So, that's become part of buying a car now. And in certain provinces in Canada and Alberta, they have what's called AMVIC, which is the motor vehicle industry standards. So they insist that you present all the information you know about the vehicle. And even if you don't know it and they find out something afterwards, you're responsible, basically, the way AMVIC puts it. But yeah, just get as much information as you can from the dealer as to the history of the vehicle. It tells you an awful lot.
Yeah, so like I said, Carfaxes, you can't 100% rely on them. There is info that's could be missing, or even info that's included that isn't accurate. But at the same time, they do provide a lot of information that is likely very accurate. Service history on cars, registration history, insurance claims, liens, if there's liens on the vehicle or not. So definitely a good tip to get a vehicle history report on anything you're buying, whether it's from a dealer or, probably more importantly, privately than from a dealership. That's where you'll get some surprises, I think, dealing privately over a dealer, because they don't have that regulation on private buyers, or private sellers, sorry. So those are our tips on some things to do and do not do when dealing with a dealership. Hopefully you found this video informative. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Check out some of our other videos up here. I think you'll really enjoy them.